All right, let's dive in. We're exploring a region today that is just uh, breathtakingly beautiful, stunning mountains, serene lakes, but its story is tangled up with a really complex, often difficult political history, Jammu and Kashmir.
It's a place, isn't it?
Hmm.
The landscape feels ancient, but the political map, well, that's seen some pretty seismic shifts, especially these last few years.
Yeah, exactly.
And our focus for this deep dive is right at the heart of what everyone's talking about there now, the whole discussion, the efforts around restoring statehood to J&K.
And statehood here, it isn't just some bureaucratic term, is it? It feels heavy with history, identity, and, well, the future of democracy there.
Absolutely.
So our mission really is to unpack what's going on using the material you've looked at to understand why this matters so much, specifically in J&K right now.
Exactly. It means looking back at the history, the promises being made now, the challenges people face on the ground, and, crucially, what the people themselves are saying and doing. We're going to try and navigate this complex terrain together.
Okay, so to get a grip on the present, we really need to look at the past. Let's rewind the clock. Way back to the start of independent India, 1947.
That's the key starting point for the modern situation. J&K joined India via the Instrument of Accession, signed by Maharaja Hari Singh as, a specific kind of deal.
How so?
Well, J&K basically it's seated on defense, external affairs, and communications. They kept control over pretty much everything else. So right from the beginning, it was a more, let's say, nuanced relationship compared to other princely states joining India.
And for decades, that unique status was kind of enshrined in Article 370.
Precisely. Article 370 gave J&K that special status, a degree of autonomy. They had their own constitution, their own laws on lots of subjects. It definitely set J&K apart within the Indian federal system.
But that defining feature, Article 370, well, that all changed dramatically on August 5th, 2019.
That date is absolutely pivotal. The Union government abrogated Article 370, stripping away that special status. And at the same time, the state of Jammu and Kashmir was split, reorganized into two Union territories, J&K itself and Ladakh.
So statehood just vanished overnight, essentially.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, so for you listening, maybe you follow this but aren't deep in the administrative details. What does losing statehood and becoming a union territory actually mean in terms of real power?
It's a fundamental shift in who's holding the reins, basically. As a state, J&K had its own elected government with pretty significant legislative powers, the power to make laws on key local things, land, police, public order.
Right?
When it became a union territory, a lot of that power shifted straight to the central government, exercised mainly through an appointed lieutenant governor, the LG.
So it's like having your local council suddenly replaced?
Kind of like that, yeah. Imagine your local town council making decisions about your street, schools, local taxes. And then suddenly, it's replaced by a manager appointed by the national office, who now calls most of the shots. That local control, that ability to govern yourselves locally, it just evaporated.
That makes the loss of local control very clear. So after that huge shift in 2019, we've got this really complex situation. And a key figure trying to navigate it is Omar Abdullah, who became chief minister again in October 2024. What's his approach been?
Well, Omar Abdullah's return definitely marks a new phase. His approach seems very pragmatic, focused on showing effective governance rather than just getting tangled up in political fights or protests all the time.
Action over words.
Sort of, yeah. He seems keen to prove that an elected government can function and deliver for people, even within the current setup, while still pushing for that bigger change.
And what actions show that focus on governing?
Well, we've seen him react directly to things. Like, after that awful terrorist attack in Pahalgam, which is a stark reminder, isn't it, of the security issues. He didn't just issue a statement.
No.
He actually convened a special session of the Assembly, specifically to address and condemn the violence. It created this moment of, well, apparent political unity against terror. And he's also been hands-on with key areas, like holding a security and tourism review meeting up in Gulmarg, linking those two vital things, J&K's recovery and its stability.
And threaded through all this is his main demand, restoring statehood. How's he going about trying to achieve that?
Yeah, this is where his strategy gets really interesting. Instead of immediately going the legal route, challenging the 2019 changes in court, which a lot of people expected,
Right.
he's chosen a path of engagement and, at least publicly, trust. He's essentially banking on the union government making good on the promises they've already made.
That sounds like a big gamble.
It's definitely high stakes. It's like saying, look, you made a commitment, now prove it.
He's taking formal steps to back that up.
Absolutely. Back in October 2024, his cabinet passed a resolution, formally urging the Union government to restore statehood, and crucially, without delay. And his plan, as reported, is to personally take that resolution to the Prime Minister in Delhi.
Wow, that's direct.
Very direct. A public move to put the responsibility firmly on the central government's shoulders.
You mentioned promises from the Union government. These haven't just been vague hints, have they?
Oh, not at all. The promise to restore statehood has been made multiple times, right from the top. Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself, speaking at a rally in Udhampur, April 2024, he stated clearly that assembly elections would happen soon, followed by restoring statehood.
And he used that specific phrase.
He framed it explicitly as Modi Ki Guarantee.
Modi Ki Guarantee. That's a very potent political slogan.
It absolutely is, and it sets a very clear expectation. You've also had Home Minister Amit Shah making similar assurances in Parliament, and even Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha echoed the commitment as recently as March 2025. So the statements are there, on the record, from key figures.
Which, naturally, brings us to the big question. With all these high-level promises, why hasn't statehood been restored yet? What's the delay signaling?
And that's the core tension, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what people in J&K are grappling with. The promise is clear, it's been repeated, but the action, well, it hasn't followed the timeline people hoped for, or perhaps expected.
Let's dig a bit deeper into why statehood is so important beyond just the administrative power. What does it really represent for people there?
It represents, I think, autonomy, dignity,
Yeah.
being treated as a full and equal part of India, not some region under, special temporary administration.
Right.
As a state, the elected government has the power to make laws on local stuff. Everything from public health to land use, even the structure of local police.
Yeah.
As union territory, especially with recent amendments, even more power seems concentrated with the lieutenant governor, sometimes allowing the LG to bypass the elected assembly or ministers.
Oh, the local elected body is there, but...
The key decisions might still need the ultimate sign-off from an appointed official. The local steering wheel feels diminished.
So for the people, it really ties into this feeling of being trusted, of being fully included.
Precisely. Restoring statehood would be this incredibly powerful symbol of trust from the center. And look, the people have shown they're ready. Just look at the September-October 2024 assembly elections. Voter turnout was incredibly high.
That wasn't just ticking a box.
No, it was a clear, undeniable signal that people want to participate in democracy. They showed up.
They want their vote to actually mean something in terms of local control.
Exactly. They want to choose their leaders, have their representatives debate, and pass laws that fit their specific needs, their context, rather than having crucial decisions vetted or mainly made by someone appointed from Delhi. It seems straightforward, this desire for local agency, but getting there has been, well, a decades-long struggle.
Now, of course, we can't discuss J&K without talking about the security situation. Terrorism is still a persistent challenge.
It absolutely is. And we know external forces, particularly from Pakistan, have played a role in fueling instability there for decades. It's been this constant, unwelcome meddling.
Stirring the pot, basically.
You could say that. And recent incidents, like that attack in Pahalgam, they're just grim reminders that the threat is real, it's immediate. We've seen reports pointing out how terror networks keep operating despite various peace agreements over the years, like Shimla.
And attacks have specifically targeted civilians, too?
Yes, tragically. Things like that grenade attack near a CRPF post in Srinagar's flea market, aimed right at ordinary people. It shows the militants are still trying to disrupt any sense of normalcy, create fear. It's almost like they can't stand the idea of peace taking hold.
But what's really striking is how locals react to these attacks.
That is such a critical point, and maybe one that gets missed sometimes. The response from the vast majority of people in J&K, right across the political spectrum, has been condemnation. Unequivocal.
People have had enough.
They are genuinely fed up with the violence. They want peace, stability, a chance to live their lives, build futures without this constant shadow of terror. They want to go Sunday shopping without being afraid.
This local desire for peace, that seems like a foundation the government could really build on.
Absolutely. And the union government support is vital here to empower the local government to really consolidate peace and counter terrorism effectively. This means, smart, targeted security operations, but also genuine efforts to restore normalcy.
That's a balance.
It is. And while you hear discussions about tactics, like trying to capture terrorists alive, look, in theory, that's important, but the reality on the ground involves split-second life-or-death decisions for security forces facing armed extremists. It's incredibly complex, incredibly dangerous work.
Stepping back a bit to the political and legal side, What did the Supreme Court say after those 2019 changes?
Well, the Supreme Court heard the challenges to the Article 370 abrogation and the creation of the UTs, and its decision on the statehood part. Well, for many people, it felt like a bit of a letdown.
How so?
While it upheld the government's power to make those changes, the court basically directed the government to restore statehood as soon as possible.
As soon as possible. That sounds deliberately vague, open to interpretation.
It absolutely is. The court didn't set any deadline, just gave that direction.
Ah,
And for people waiting for statehood, that phrase is starting to feel like a very long time indeed, maybe even indefinitely. It felt like expecting a clear verdict on something crucial and getting, well, a deferral.
and that's why Omar Abdullah's current strategy isn't about fighting the 2019 decision itself in court.
Exactly. He's been quite clear that, for now anyway, his focus isn't on relitigating the past. It's on holding the government to account for its future promises. He's putting the responsibility squarely on the union government to follow through, both on their own public commitments and on the Supreme Court's directive.
So even with all the complexities, the security issues, the people of J&K themselves are actively trying to shape their path forward, aren't they?
They are showing incredible agency, primarily through democracy. That huge turnout in the 2024 Assembly elections. It wasn't just participation. It felt like a powerful rejection of extremism and violence.
What do you mean?
Voters seem to deliberately choose candidates focused on governance, on the future. They pushed back against those linked with separatist or violent agendas. They used their vote.
And their most powerful tool.
Precisely. And look, on the ground, you're seeing tangible signs of progress that reflect this desire for normalcy. Tourism is bouncing back big time. Both domestic and international visitors are returning to the valley in numbers not seen for years.
That's huge.
It is. And foreign direct investment is also starting to trickle in. It signals growing economic confidence. It's almost like J&K is putting up a sign saying, we're open for business, not conflict.
But can that recovery, that peace, truly last without statehood?
That's the fundamental question, isn't it? The argument you hear strongly is that for this peace and prosperity to really deepen, to become truly resilient, statehood is essential. Because without it, the local government just doesn't have the full range of powers and resources it needs to drive localized economic growth, tackle unemployment effectively, tailor solutions to the region's very specific challenges. It's like having a car that runs, but it's stuck in low gear. It moves, but it can't really go the distance.
Statehood gives them the full toolkit.
It empowers local institutions, local leaders, gives them the tools they need to build on the progress already made, and it sends a crucial signal, too.
What kind of signal?
It sends a clear message to everyone within J&K, across India, internationally, that the people of Jammu and Kashmir are trusted to govern themselves within the Indian framework. It empowers locals to truly shape their own future. And that is probably the most potent counter-argument to any external meddling or extremist ideology.
So Omar Abdullah's approach, trusting the government to deliver, it feels like a really significant political gamble.
It absolutely is. It's a noticeably non-confrontational strategy in a place with such a history of, well, intense political confrontation. But it also presents a massive opportunity for the union government.
An opportunity.
To show their promises were real. That they're genuinely committed to democracy, to federalism, and that they truly trust the people of J&K.
And the argument is, this isn't just about politics, it's an obligation.
That's the perspective we see strongly put forward. That people have done their part, they participated in democracy, they rejected violence, they showed commitment to India. The Constitution itself envisions states with clear powers.
So delaying feels like breaking faith.
Exactly. Treating statehood like, I don't know, a forgotten promise, a New Year's resolution that just fades away, that undermines trust. The Supreme Court said, at the earliest, delays just breed skepticism. They play into the hands of those who doubt the government's sincerity. Acting swiftly seems crucial to prove this isn't just political maneuvering, but a real commitment.
Looking ahead then, statehood isn't being pitched as some kind of magic fix, is it? More like a vital foundation.
Precisely. Nobody thinks it's going to instantly solve every problem. Issues like long-term unemployment or the remnants of terrorism are complex. But statehood provides the necessary tools, the authority, for the local government to really tackle these problems head-on effectively.
We've heard about efforts from the LG's administration, too.
Yes, things like focusing on peace and stability, promises about rehabilitating Kashmiri Pandits with safe housing. These are important initiatives. But the argument is, without the full legislative and administrative muscle of a state government, These efforts lack that solid, locally driven foundation they need to succeed long term. It's like building a house on sand.
And the message is the people are ready to fully integrate and move forward.
Absolutely. They want to be active, full participants in India's story. Not seen as a perpetual issue or a region needing indefinite central oversight, they seem ready to take the reins, build their future.
But vigilance is still needed.
Oh, absolutely. Vigilance against that external interference, which, let's remember, J&K has faced for over 36 years now, fueling both imported terror and, sadly, some homegrown elements too. Statehood arguably empowers local resistance to that as well.
So this whole journey towards statehood for J&K, it's a really compelling story, isn't it?
It truly is. It weaves together such complex history, high-stakes politics, very real security dangers, and just the undeniable resilience and hopes of the people living there. It's got all the elements, hasn't it? Drama, context, key players, promises made, real human impact. And we're all watching to see how it turns out.
And at its heart, it seems to connect right back to fundamental ideas about democracy, about trust within a federal system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Restoring statehood isn't just about drawing lines on a map or administrative structures. It's about fulfilling promises, empowering a region that has endured so much, and reinforcing those core principles of India as a union of states.
Which really puts the ball firmly in the union government's court, doesn't it? To act decisively on what they've committed to.
The promises are out there. The need seems clear. The people have shown their commitment to the democratic path. It feels like now is the moment for those promises to become reality.
And that leaves us, and you listening, with a thought to perhaps mull over. If India is truly a union of states, what does it signify both for the future of Jammu and Kashmir and maybe for India's own standing as a vibrant democracy if that commitment, that promise to restore statehood to this absolutely crucial region isn't met, or if it's just delayed indefinitely?
It raises some pretty profound questions, doesn't it? About trust, about federalism, and about what promises made at the very highest levels really mean.
Something definitely worth reflecting on as we continue to watch this vital story unfold.